Good morning, everyone. Please take your seats. Good morning, everyone. Please take your seats. We have quorum, so we will be getting started. I hope you all enjoyed your weekends. I did want to take a moment first thing to acknowledge the terrible circumstances in Indonesia over the weekend and offer my condolences and our condolences to our Indonesian colleagues. And I would just like to take a moment. Okay, thank you, everyone. So we will be getting started. On Friday, I indicated that we would take summary record 5 first thing this morning. So summary record 5, any comments on the record? Seeing no comments, I think we adopt the record. So I will take summaries 6 through 9 this afternoon. Hopefully they have been published over the weekend, and that will have us caught up on summary records 6, 7, 8 and 9 this afternoon. We also have published 2 in-session documents, 2 COM documents, one on the World Wildlife Trade Report and one on strategic vision, which I would hope to take tomorrow morning. So please reflect on those today so that we can do that. I'll turn to the Secretariat for some updates before I come back and we discuss how we're going to proceed today. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, everyone. The Secretariat has been informed that there has been COVID-19 cases identified among delegates and participants. We therefore would like to encourage delegates and participants to wear masks if possible. The Secretariat will make some masks available at the information booth. So if you would like to wear a mask and you do not have with you, please visit the information booth and you can collect a mask there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Secretariat. So we are a bit behind Committee 2, and it's my intention to catch up as much as we can today so that we are on time by the time we reach tomorrow. I indicated last week that that would mean that I would have to make some tough decisions, and I have, and I will continue to. It will cause me to limit some of our discussions, and parties, I know how anxious you are to take the floor, but I will not be able to take all of you for every discussion. I will continue to endeavour to do my best. I will continue to endeavour to take observers where I can. I have asked the Bureau this morning and they've agreed that we will have a night session this evening from 7 till 10. I know I'm very popular suggesting that, but we do need to get through our work. We have consulted with the Secretariat. There were a few other side events scheduled this evening. Rest assured that the Secretariat is going to find another time for those side events. Most likely, I'm advised on the 23rd, but the Secretariat will be in touch with those groups who are affected by the rescheduling. So that is a night session for Committee 2 from 7 till 10 p.m. tonight, Monday the 21st. The other thing I have opted to do is introduce a time limit on speakers, and I've decided that this will be 2.5 minutes based on my observations of your interventions last week. 2.5 minutes is roughly average for your interventions, so I'm hoping that you will accommodate me. There will be a timer on the screen behind me. It's very subtle. It's approximately 5 metres tall. You can't miss it. I will ask you to keep to time as far as possible. I don't enjoy having to interrupt you, but unfortunately I will have to, and everybody will see why. So we will move forward like that, and hopefully that means that we can catch up today, because I know how important all of the rest of the work on our agenda is. I would like us to be discussing species-specific matters this afternoon if we possibly can. So with that, I just checked with the Secretariat that I had everything. We will turn to our working program, starting with CoP19, Document 19, CITES and Forests. This document has been prepared by the Secretariat, so I will ask the Secretariat to introduce it. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. El documento COP19, DOC19, sobre las CITES y los bosques fue preparado por la Secretaría. La aplicación efectiva de las CITES contribuye a la conservación a largo plazo y el uso sostenible de los bosques del mundo y sus recursos genéticos, en línea con la contribución de la Convención a nivel de ecosistemas reconocida en el preámbulo de la Convención. En los últimos años, la inclusión de especies de flora en los apéndices ha ido en constante aumento, y en particular aquella de especies arbóreas, y se ha visto impulsada, entre otras cosas, por la urgente necesidad de hacer frente a las amenazas que plantea el nivel insostenible de comercio internacional de estas especies. Tan solo en esta COP, ustedes, las partes de las CITES, están en proceso de considerar la inclusión de más de 150 especies forestales en el apéndice 2. Para ser más precisa, la semana pasada el Comité 1 acordó la inclusión de estas nuevas especies de árboles en las CITES. La implementación exitosa de estos nuevos listados supone garantizar la reglamentación de las exportaciones y de sus especímenes, a fin de que las poblaciones puedan mantenerse en toda su área de distribución en un nivel acorde a su función en los ecosistemas en los que habitan. En este documento, en sus párrafos 11 y 12, resaltamos dos de los proyectos estratégicos que han logrado precisamente esto: apoyar la exitosa implementación de listados de especies arbóreas y forestales en el apéndice 2. Estos son el proyecto de la Secretaría y la FAO en el marco del programa de la ONU RED en la región del Bajo Mekong, que entre otros resultados ha financiado el desarrollo de la primera plataforma interactiva sobre recursos para la identificación de madera. Y el segundo es el ya bien conocido Programa de Especies Arbóreas de las CITES o CTSP, por sus siglas en inglés. De hecho, en el marco de las discusiones del Comité 1, escuchamos interés en conceder una calidad permanente a programas y proyectos en materia de bosques, como es el caso de la CTSP. Con esto en mente, nos debemos preguntar: ¿cómo podemos construir un marco estratégico que catalice la implementación oportuna de los mandatos relevantes a bosques, hospede la diversidad de proyectos y programas forestales actuales y futuros, permita la adecuada movilización de recursos para su implementación y eleve la visibilidad de la contribución de las CITES a ecosistemas forestales? Anticipando esta pregunta, la Secretaría exploró la pertinencia de desarrollar un proyecto de resolución sobre CITES y los bosques, mismo que sometimos a consideración de los comités de Flora y Permanente, respectivamente en sus sesiones 25 y 74. Tomando en cuenta la valiosa retroalimentación recibida y la importancia de garantizar debidas consultas con los comités científico y permanente en una iniciativa de esta naturaleza, la Secretaría invita a las partes a adoptar los proyectos de decisión sobre las CITES y los bosques que encontrarán en el anexo 1 del presente documento. Gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you, Secretariat. So I open the floor to parties. I see Canada, followed by Australia. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Canada appreciates the efforts of the Secretariat in their preparation of the document, but is not in a position to support the draft decisions included in Document 19. Canada recalls that at PC 25 and at SC 74, the North American region had questions about the strategic value of the approach suggested in the Secretariat's document to write a resolution on CITES and forests, document PC 25 Doc 12 and SC 74 Doc 15. Canada remains unconvinced that the approach outlined in document 19 will advance the fundamental business of the Convention as CITES focuses on species. With regard to the preparation of a CITES forest compendium suggested in Doc 19, Draft Decision 19AA, Canada continues to believe that focusing on ecosystems, in this case forests, but just as possibly oceans or deserts, moves away from core CITES work. Canada would support the development of a compendium on CITES-listed 3 species, as was proposed by the North American region at SC 74. As such, we see little real value in the multidisciplinary study proposed in 19AA. Canada worked with the United States of America and Mexico to prepare amendments to the draft decisions that we think would better focus on CITES-listed tree species. So, Chair, would it be possible for us to read our amendments? And for ease of following our proposed changes, they can be found in information document number 94 in English, French, and Spanish.
Thank you, Canada. I note your changes and thank you for publishing them. I will just ask you to hold them just for a moment while I see the room. It may be that we need a small working group, and that might be a more efficient way to consider your amendments. So I will come back to you with a way forward. Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Australia thanks the Secretariat for presenting CoP19 Document 19 on CITES and forests for consideration by the Conference of the Parties. Forests are complex ecosystems that support a diversity of species of flora and fauna and provide critical resources that sustain life beyond forests. Forests also play a critical role in responding to the climate crisis, with the importance of their sustainable management specifically recognised in the Sharm el-Sheikh Implementation Plan adopted at the 27th Conference of the Parties to the UNFCCC. Australia notes the proposed new resolution would be the first ecosystem-based resolution adopted under CITES. It is therefore imperative that the CITES technical committees are provided the opportunity to consider the terms of reference of the proposed multidisciplinary study. We believe that it is important that the technical committees of the Convention are also directed to consider the term forests and forest species. Those should not be limited to consideration of terrestrial species. Australia supports the adoption of the draft decisions presented in Annex 1 to CoP19 Document 19 as presented by the Secretariat. And we proposed a few small text amendments to incorporate specific guidance on the role of technical committees in reviewing the terms of reference of the multidisciplinary study, as well as any proposed definitions for the terms forests and forest species. Chair, if you'd like, I can read our small text amendments to the decisions, or I can wait.
Thank you, Australia. I will have you hold those text amendments. We've heard the nature of them, so I will just take some more interventions. I'll take Brazil, followed by the European Union. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving me the floor, and good morning to all colleagues. Brazil thanks the Secretariat for preparing document 19. However, we would like to express some of our concerns regarding of this document. We do recognize the importance of CITES for the for the conservation of forest ecosystems. Our country pays special attention to the conservation of its forests through coordinated public policies aimed at encouraging the sustainable use of its resources. The proposals and measures related to the topic, however, cannot lose sight of the Convention focus on the protection of endangered species of fauna and flora that are being affected by international trade. Forest-related programs should therefore have as a central objective to support the implementation of CITES mandates related to forest-listed species. Moreover, in our view, CITES resolutions and decisions related to forests and specific mandates related to species listed in the Convention appendices cannot do without robust, practicable, and appropriate means of implementation to support developing countries. Brazil also does not consider it appropriate to prioritize activities related to flora, particular trees, in decisions concerning CITES and forests. Such prioritization, based on a definition that only takes into account the fact that forests are areas with predominance of trees, fails to consider the necessary ecosystem balance achieved by the interaction between species of fauna and flora in forests. In addition, the exact content of the references to global forest relevant principles and forest policies and initiatives is unclear for Brazil. Such an extremely comprehensive expression lacks precision and may lead to unintended interpretations in the future, including compromising CITES for purposes that go beyond its objectives and mandates. We also would appreciate to have clarification from the Secretariat on what is the exact meaning of the values of CITES listed forest species as it's expressed on draft decision 19AA-B. Those are our comments for the time being, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. European Union.
Thank you, Chair. The EU and its member states want to thank the Secretariat for preparing the document. We generally support the proposed approach. However, duplication with work by other international forest-related initiatives like the International Arrangement on Forests and notably the Collaborative Partnership on Forests should be avoided. We do support the adoption of the draft decisions contained in Annex 1, but we have a proposal for amendment to propose the decisions 19AA and 1966, and in particular for 19AA, after contribute more effectively to global forest relevant mandates and forest policies initiatives, we would like to add while avoiding duplication and supporting joint action. And the same in 19CC, after contribution to global forest relevant mandates and forest policies initiatives, we would like to add the text, the same text. So while avoiding duplication and supporting joint action. On the other hand, what we would like to also referring to the comments made by some other parties, we do not support the amendments that aim at restricting and narrowing down the scope, ignoring the CITES forest-wide benefits. We consider that CITES and the NDF process play an important role in supporting wider sustainable forest management. And in some cases, the CITES listed species are the basis of the ecosystems, and this has to be recognized. Moreover, CITES and the NDFs are the only binding scheme applied globally. So we'd be happy to sit in a smaller working group or drafting group to discuss the final language. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. I do see a need for a working group on this item. So in the interest of time, I will take several more interventions, but everyone please be aware there will be a working group, very likely a working group on this matter, so there will be plenty more opportunity for discussion. So I have Bolivia, followed by Argentina, followed by the United States. Bolivia, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Bolivia agradece el documento presentado por la Secretaría. La definición de integralidad relacionada a una unidad territorial de gestión, independientemente del tipo de ecosistema o ecosistemas que lo componen, desde una perspectiva, se la puede entender como un espacio de la interrelación, interdependencia y la funcionalidad de todos los aspectos y procesos sociales, culturales, ecológicos, económicos, productivos, políticos y efectivos. En ese sentido, al evaluar el documento presentado, en el enfoque que se presenta se mantiene un enfoque altamente reduccionista, donde a los bosques se los ve como unidades de producción de árboles que generan madera. En ese sentido, a partir del documento en análisis, se ve como conveniente sugerir, complementar el enfoque del documento con elementos socioeconómicos y socioecológicos, elementos que también en diferente grado han sido sugeridos por la CITES. En ese sentido, en el inciso 19AA, al finalizar, en el inciso 19AA, en el romanito 2, al finalizar el párrafo, se sugiere complementar, así como su interrelación con los pueblos indígenas y comunidades locales y sus medios de vida. En relación al romanito 4, al finalizar, también se sugiere que se complemente que se fortalezcan un manejo integral y ecosistémico y sostenible de los bosques. Gracias.
Thank you, Bolivia, and I hope that you will be able to bring those amendments to the working group if we decide to have one. Argentina, followed by the United States. Argentina, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora presidenta, y muy buenos días. Sobre este punto, la Argentina quiere valorar y reconocer los esfuerzos de la Convención en la conservación a largo plazo de las especies de fauna y flora silvestre. La Argentina también valora en ese sentido el rol de las CITES en dar visibilidad a su contribución al tema de los bosques. Sin embargo, y como ya fue mencionado por las partes preopinantes, entiende que la propuesta, tal como figura en el documento 19, escaparía a las competencias específicas de las CITES. Además, manifestamos nuestra preocupación por el solapamiento de competencias y la superposición con otros convenios, tales como el Foro de Bosques de la ONU y el Comité Forestal de la FAO, entre otros. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Argentina. United States.
Thank you, Chair. The United States does not support the draft decisions in the annex to this document. In our view, a focused effort on CITES-listed trees is imperative in the next intersession. We are concerned that the decisions propose an irregular process to seek a mandate to develop a forest-based approach to CITES work before the scientific committees have had a chance to consider such an approach. The scope of work is vast, aimed at ecosystems rather than species, including animals, and is inconsistent with the CITES focus on species. The tabling of this agenda item provides an important opportunity for us to focus efforts on and explore mechanisms to enhance implementation of the Convention for CITES-listed tree species. As such, the United States hopes that parties will join us and the North American region in strongly supporting the draft decisions as found in information document CoP19 Inf 94. We would also participate in a working group should that be struck. Thank you.
So we'll take two more parties and then I will find a way forward. So we'll take the United Kingdom followed by Norway. UK, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The United Kingdom would like to thank the Secretariat for preparing the draft decisions on CITES and forests. We recognise that work on forest and forest species conservation is vital, and where appropriate, CITES should be involved. We feel that the current document needs refinement and clear definitions and objectives. We too have several recommendations to make to the text. Additionally, we feel that in light of the changes suggested by our colleagues from the North American region, Australia, the EU, Bolivia and Argentina, we do need a working group as stated by the Chair, and we would like to be on this working group. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, United Kingdom. Norway, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Norway thanks the Secretariat for the submission of this document. We would like to align ourselves with the intervention from our colleagues in the EU and generally support the adaptation of the decisions as proposed by the Secretariat found in Annex 1. Norway would also like to emphasize the importance of enhancing the implementation of CITES with respect to forests, even though the Convention in general has a species-specific focus. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Norway. Okay, thank you everyone, and thank you for reflecting upon each other's comments and for staying to time this morning. I think we've made good time on that, so I will strike a working group on CITES and forests to meet to discuss the proposal of the Secretariat and to consider the discussions that we've had this morning and to return with an in-session document with revised draft decisions based on the discussions of that working group. If technicians, if you could clear my screen. I want this to be a small working group, if at all possible, because I think we have quite a few parties who have expressed interest and have come with language, so I will take interest in working in this working group, and I will, observers, I apologise, I hope that you'll be able to join this working group. I will take parties for this working group now, and I'll have a look at the list, and hopefully we'll be able to keep it small. Thank you, parties, if you'd like to be on this working group. So I'm going to close the list now. It's already slightly larger than I wanted, but I hope that you will still be able to meet and have a productive meeting. So my party members on this working group, and I would encourage you, if you're not on this working group, to work in your regions and make sure you're coordinating. I've heard some good reports from some of the working group meetings that that's been happening, and I was very pleased to hear it. So I will take Peru, China, United Kingdom, Canada, European Union, Australia, United States, Tanzania, Gabon, Ghana, Bolivia, India, Brazil, and Mali. Technicians, if you could clear that list for me. I will take observer interest once we have cleared the list. Sorry, observers, I'm jumping the gun. Wait until the... India and Brazil, we do have you. So I will take observer participants in the working group. I'll give you a few more seconds. I don't see any. Oh, here we go. Okay, I have to close my list now because of the balance requirements. So I will take traffic, Suco SA, WWF, CIEL, Forest-Based Solutions, International FurFed, IPPL, International Wood Products Association, HSI, FAO, and the Ivory Education Institute. IWMC, you're asking for the floor. I was just about to move on from this item and try and find a chair. Do you have a brief intervention?
I'm sorry, our button didn't work,
Okay.
so it was us and not the Ivory Education Institute.
Okay. That makes a little bit more sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course, everyone's welcome to join. I was a little bit curious. We will change the list. So that's IWMC, not the Ivory Education Institute. So I would like to see if we can find a chair for this working group. I was wondering if the UK might be interested in chairing this working group. Nods from the UK. So the UK will chair the working group, and we will come back to you with arrangements for the CITES and Forests working group. So we will move on to Friday morning's agenda. You will see why I'm attempting to keep some pace today. I would like to get through Friday morning's agenda if we can today in this morning's session, if at all possible, or I would like to get close. So we will move to interpretation and implementation matters, general compliance and enforcement, document 32, on the review of Resolution Conf 11.3, Rev CoP18 on compliance and enforcement. This document has been prepared by the Standing Committee, and I understand the chair of the Standing Committee has asked the United States to introduce the document. United States, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The United States presents this document as chair of the Standing Committee's Working Group on Review of Resolution Conf 11.3, Rev CoP18, on compliance and enforcement. The working group membership included 17 parties and 17 non-party observers. as described in document CoP19 Doc 32, based on several rounds of email consultations and consistent with the working group's mandate to suggest amendments to reorganize the resolution to improve usefulness and readability, the working group developed proposed edits to the resolution. These edits were presented to the Standing Committee at its 74th meeting, and the committee agreed to propose them for adoption to the present meeting. The proposed amendments to the resolution are included in Annexes 1 and 2 to the present document, with Annex 1 presenting the recommended changes in underlined and strike-through text with explanatory notes as needed, and Annex 2 presenting a clean version of the resolution showing how it would appear if the recommended changes are adopted. Paragraph 6 of the document describes a number of gaps identified by working group members and noted for possible future consideration. If adopted, draft decision 19.XX, found in Annex 3 to the present document, would direct the Standing Committee to consider whether these topics are gaps to be addressed in the content of Resolution Conf 11.3, and if so, make recommendations as appropriate to revise the resolution to address such gaps for consideration at COP20. The Conference of the Parties is invited to adopt the proposed amendments to Resolution Conf 11.3, Rev COP18 as found in Annex 1, as well as draft decision 19.XX as found in Annex 3 to the document. As noted in the Secretariat's comments on the document, decision 18.74 should be deleted as it has been implemented. Additionally, I note the Secretariat's suggestion that for the sake of clarity and consistency of terminology, the term enforcement authorities should be replaced where it appears with the term enforcement agencies. Finally, I note the Secretariat's observation that possible changes to this resolution will be discussed under other agenda items during the present meeting, and that changes will be consolidated by the Secretariat after COP19. These observations and suggestions should also be taken under consideration of the Conference of the Parties as appropriate. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, United States. So I will open the floor for parties. I would note that the mandate for this particular document and for the working group that was chaired by the United States is quite narrow. So I would ask you to keep your comments related to the purpose of this document, if at all possible, regarding the usefulness and readability, updating and clarifying where needed, and the gaps that are identified in the decision in Annex 3. So I will open the floor to parties. United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. The UK welcomes the efforts to clarify the drafting of Resolution 11.3 and supports the proposals made in COP19 Doc 32 with some changes. We appreciate the aim of the working group was to make editorial amendments. However, some of the proposed amendments appeared to be more substantive. In that respect, we have proposals on 3 paragraphs in Doc 32, Annex 1, to avoid suggesting that these provisions are legal obligations, as we understand that the intention was to remind parties to implement the provisions of Resolution 9.7. On page 4 of document 32, in the preambular paragraph that starts, considering that the countries, we propose striking out comply with and inserting implement instead. In the second operative paragraph, we propose striking out of their obligation and in operative paragraph 12a little I, two little i's, we propose replacing ensure compliance with implement. We also have a few minor editorial amendments. In operative paragraph 7, we think this should read encourages with an S. And in operative paragraph 12a little I, we propose inserting an of after at the time so that it reads increasing quality of controls at the time of export, import, and then carry on. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, United Kingdom. We've captured those. I will see Togo, followed by China. Togo, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Nous remercions le comité permanent pour l'élaboration de ce document. Eu égard à tout ce qui est présenté, le Togo soutient les propositions faites dans ce document. Merci.
Thank you, Togo. European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I speak on behalf of the European Union and its 27 member states. We agree on the adoption of the proposed amendments to Resolution Conference 11.3, revised at CoP18, as found in Annex 1 to the present document, with the editorial changes as already provided to the Secretariat. In addition, in 15A of Annex 1, we think the phrasing could be improved. Instead of the word controlling, we suggest the word identifying, which we think is more suitable. We further agree on the adoption of the draft decision as contained in Annex 3 to the present document. However, with regard to the identified gaps under point A and D, we would like to ask the Standing Committee to take into account the Convention's mandate and remit. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. I will take China and then Mali. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On behalf of our China delegation, I would like to express our deepest condolences to those who died and best regards to those who are injured in the recent earthquake in Indonesia.
And China supports the draft amendment to the resolution Conf 11.3, which was discussed in a working group and agreed by the Standing Committee. If those gaps identified are to be discussed, it shall be done during the next intersessional period. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, China. My final speaker will be Mali. Mali, you have the floor.
Merci bien, Madame la Présidente. Je me rallie aux États qui ont présenté les condoléances au peuple de l'Indonésie par rapport à la situation qui est intervenue sur la population. Alors, donc, nous faisons des bénédictions pour ceux qui sont morts et que le Seigneur puisse les accueillir dans son paradis. Et par rapport à cette intervention, comme l'a dit le Togo, le Mali prend en compte cet effet et se rallie au Togo. Merci bien, Madame.
Thank you, Mali. So I will open the floor for observers. Bolivia, I will take you. You just beat my list. Bolivia, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora presidenta. Bolivia agradece el documento presentado por la Secretaría. El documento, en la sección 12.b, se sugiere que cambiar la parte comunidades locales y rurales por pueblos indígenas y comunidades locales. Gracias.
Thank you, Bolivia. I will open the floor for one or two observers. If there are comments on CoP19 document 32. I don't see any observers requesting the floor. So thank you, everyone. I think that was constructive and swift. We have captured all of the amendments which I think are acceptable to the committee. Thank you for the editorial amendments and the suggestions. So I think with that, Committee 2 agrees to the amendments to Resolution Conf 11.3 Rev CoP 18, found in Annex 1 with the clean version in Annex 2, with the additional amendments that we've heard on the floor this morning. I think that we agree to the draft decision in Annex 3 to the present document, and also thank you the United States and Secretariat for pointing out that we can agree to delete decision 18.74. So we will move on to agenda item 32, wildlife crime enforcement support in West and Central Africa. We have two documents, 36.1 and 36.2. As I've done previously, I would like to take these two documents together. The first document is the report of the Standing Committee, so I will have that introduced, and then I will invite the proponents on Doc 36.2 to introduce their paper. So when I come to you, if the correct proponent could be ready to take the floor, that would be great. We will start with document 36.1. This document has been submitted by the Standing Committee. I'd like to invite the chair of the Standing Committee to introduce the document. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So Doc 36.1 was submitted by the Standing Committee. It speaks to decisions 18.88 to 18.93 on wildlife crime enforcement support in West and Central Africa that were adopted at the 18th meeting of the Conference of the Parties. I'll draw attention of the room to paragraph 5, where the committee notes that document SC74, Doc 35.2, was submitted to the Standing Committee by the Secretariat and provided information on a range of activities undertaken in West and Central Africa, as well as support available to parties to strengthen CITES implementation and address wildlife crime in those subregions. Activities of the Secretariat and parties are summarized in the document as well as in the Standing Committee document. Based on the reports to the Standing Committee, at SC 74, the committee agreed on a number of recommendations that are found in paragraph 9 of the present document. Additionally, the committee agreed to submit draft decisions on strengthening collaboration between source, transit, and consumer countries, and draft decisions on strengthening wildlife law enforcement in West Africa. And these are available in Annexes 1 and 2 of the present document. The document also additionally outlines activities on the implementation of decisions 18.90 and 18.92, and a number of actions agreed by the committee are found in paragraph 12. So in conclusion, the committee invites the Conference of the Parties to adopt the draft decisions contained in Annex 1 and Annex 2 of the present document. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair of the Standing Committee. So I have two parties asking for the floor. Only one of them is a proponent for document 36.2. So if we can clear my list, because it's a little bit confusing. I haven't opened the floor yet for parties, so please just wait until I do that. You can clear my list, and I'll just invite the proponent who's introducing this document to press their button. Thank you. I see Niger. Niger, you have the floor.
Ok, merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. Le Niger remercie le comité permanent d'avoir soumis le document 36.1 et note que les décisions contenues dans ce document sont les résultats du document SC 74 DOC 35.5 soumis par le Nigeria, le Bénin et le Niger, qui contenait des projets de décision qui ont été adoptés par le comité permanent, aboutissant aux décisions que vous voyez dans ce document. Le Niger souhaite également prendre un moment pour reconnaître les commentaires approfondis du secrétariat. Cependant, nous demandons et attirons l'attention des parties sur le document COP19 46 qui contient une réponse détaillée des pays de la CEDEAO et ses commentaires. Nous n'acceptons pas les amendements aux décisions du document 36.1 proposés par le secrétariat car ils réduisent de manière significative l'impact et la substance des décisions originales. Nous appelons donc les parties à adopter la décision originelle telle que contenue dans le document 36.1 plutôt que les décisions révisées proposées par le secrétariat. Ce qui concerne les projets de décision 19AA, 19AB sur le renforcement de la collaboration entre les pays d'origine et de transit et les consommations proposées à l'annexe 1, le Niger aimerait expliquer aux parties que nous pensons qu'il est très important que toutes les parties, tout au long de la chaîne du commerce illicite, jouent un rôle égal dans le processus de conformité dans la CITES. La décision 19.AA et 19.BB de l'annexe 1 ont pour vocation de trouver les mécanismes pour rendre cette collaboration systématique. Une bonne illustration des lacunes en matière de collaboration touche par exemple aux saisies. Les parties ne sont pas obligées de communiquer les données relatives aux saisies. Nous le savons car il est très rare que d'autres organes de gestion nous contactent pour signaler les saisies des produits de nos pays. Cela rend les efforts de lutte contre la criminalité extrêmement difficiles et nous avons besoin de renseignements et de données pour renforcer notre efficacité afin de pouvoir sévir contre les réseaux des criminels organisés transnationaux qui opèrent actuellement en toute impunité dans nos pays. En ce qui concerne la décision 19.AA et 19.BB de l'annexe 2 sur les soutiens au réseau de lutte contre la criminalité liée aux espèces sauvages en Afrique de l'Ouest, nous sommes très heureux de faire savoir aux parties qu'un atelier préparatoire du réseau a eu lieu à Abuja en octobre et nous espérons que le réseau deviendra opérationnel en 2023. À ce stade précoce de la mise en place de ce réseau, notre sous-région apprécie beaucoup les conseils et expertises d'autres réseaux régionaux de lutte contre la criminalité liée aux espèces sauvages afin que nous puissions apprendre et leur expérience. Nous encourageons donc également les parties à soutenir l'établissement d'un groupe intersessionnel tel proposé dans le document 36.1. Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Niger. Do you want the floor? Do you want to explain your comments? Yeah. So I will ask the Secretariat to speak to their comments now, just so we have some overarching perspectives to work from. I note that Niger does not agree with the Secretariat's comments, but I thought it might be helpful, given the complexity and the number of decisions we're dealing with here, if we could start from that place. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je ferai d'abord une brève mise à jour sur les activités en cours, car ces informations seront utiles aux parties dans leur délibération pour ces points de l'ordre du jour. En appui à la mise en œuvre de la décision 1883 et des résultats de la réunion du groupe de travail sur le commerce illégal des spécimens d'espèces d'arbres inscrites à la CITES organisée en février 2022, le secrétariat est en cours d'organiser, avec les programmes de contrôle de conteneurs de l'ONUDC-OMD, 2 ateliers régionaux qui seront organisés en janvier et février 2023. Les objectifs des ateliers se concentreront sur l'augmentation des saisies, en établissant des profils de risque, le renforcement des capacités pour détecter la fraude documentaire et les méthodes de dissimulation utilisées dans le trafic, notamment Petrocarpus erinaceus, l'ivoire, les pangolins et d'Albergia, et l'identification des espèces de première ligne ainsi que la scène du crime et le traitement de preuves, les enquêtes et la médecine légale, entre d'autres. Le secrétariat est aussi en train d'explorer également la possibilité d'organiser des ateliers supplémentaires pour appuyer les pays en réponse à leurs demandes reçues à la suite de la lettre envoyée à toutes les parties de l'Afrique de l'Ouest et du Centre en novembre 2021. Cette lettre a souligné le soutien disponible et a invité les pays à exprimer leurs intérêts pour recevoir un soutien de renforcement de leurs capacités dans ces domaines. 2 formations supplémentaires devraient avoir lieu en 2023. Je vais maintenant passer au document. Les commentaires du secrétariat sont inclus dans le document 36.1 et s'appliquent aux 2 documents. Dans l'ensemble, le secrétariat accueille favorablement les documents et a tenté de rationaliser et de fusionner les décisions proposées pour faciliter les discussions aujourd'hui. Le secrétariat note qu'un bon nombre des activités décrites dans les projets de décision des 2 documents peuvent déjà être mises en œuvre en utilisant des processus existants et pour cette raison ne recommande pas l'adoption des projets de décision dans les 2 documents. Au lieu de cela, et afin de rationaliser les projets de décision proposés et de capitaliser sur les processus et les mécanismes de coopération CITES existants, le secrétariat propose de nouveaux projets de décision au paragraphe V qui incorporent les éléments des 2 documents. La justification de ce nouveau projet de décision est détaillée dans les paragraphes C à U des commentaires du secrétariat. Et un budget provisoire a été inclus sur la base des amendements proposés par le secrétariat. Pour conclure, le secrétariat encourage les parties à examiner la nouvelle série de projets de décision au paragraphe V qui incorporent des éléments de 2 documents ainsi que des projets de décision proposés dans le document 36.1 et 36.2. Cette approche pourrait rationaliser les projets de décision proposés et capitaliser sur les processus et les mécanismes de coopération CITES existantes. En résumé, le secrétariat recommande que les décisions 18, 88, 89, 92 et 93 sont supprimées et que la conférence des parties adopte les projets de décision 19AA à 19EE et les décisions 1890, REF-COP 19 et 1891, REF-COP 19, tel que présenté au paragraphe V des commentaires du secrétariat. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Secretariat. So I will open the floor to parties. We have quite a few documents and decisions in front of us, so I would appreciate it if you could be clear what you are speaking to and which decisions you are supporting or proposing amendments to. We will try and take this a little bit slower so we can all keep up. So the floor is open to parties. I will hear from some of the proponents. Probably won't be able to take all of you, but I will hear from Nigeria and Mali. Nigeria, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was meant to present document 36.2. I therefore seek your indulgence to do that now, if you permit me to introduce that document, 36.2. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. It gives me great pleasure to introduce the document, 36.2. I'm extremely proud of the achievement that the West African region has made since the 18th meeting of the Conference of Parties. In particular, we are pleased with the progress made with regard to implementing the recommendations contained in Annex 4 of West and Central Africa Threat Assessment Report, COP 18.34. The primary region implementation mechanism for West African strategy in combating wildlife crime, also known as WIN. The WIN is being established with support from ECOWAS Commission's Environmental Directorate and USAID West African Biodiversity and Low Emission Development Project. A preparatory workshop for the WEN took place in Abuja in October, and the region is looking forward for operationalization in 2023. Nigeria would like to take this opportunity to thank, in particular, the mentors who participated in the WEN workshop. Chair, the West African strategy countries to develop national wildlife crime strategy and wildlife law task forces. Nigeria itself has already launched its national strategy to combat wildlife illegal crime. This task force will serve as an implementation mechanism of our national strategy. Nigeria has undertaken a need assessment process for the establishment of this task force and hopes it will be operationalized in 2023. Other ECOWAS range states have also made significant progress. Unfortunately, Chair, this initiative, although valuable, this document also presents some suggested amendments to Decision 1890 on support from parties importing CITES specimens from West Africa and Central Africa, which we believe has not adequately been implemented and should be maintained. Finally, Chair, we are aware that the Secretariat has prepared significant and extension comments on document 36.1 and 36.2. In these comments, the Secretariat in particular is proposing to delete decisions which ECOWAS countries submitted to the last standing committee meeting and which were approved for submission to the COP by standing committee. We don't consider this approach is helpful, and we would like to draw the attention of the parties to COP19 Info 46, submitted by Côte d'Ivoire, Nigeria, Niger, Benin, and Senegal, in response to the Secretariat's comments on both COP19 Doc 36.1 and 36.2. Our region strongly commends that parties adopt the original decisions presented in the document, presented in document 36.2. We consider the establishment of a CITES enforcement fund in particular as paramount for our region and other CITES parties. We can no longer continue with the status quo when funding CITES enforcement without significant harming the very species we are trying to protect. We must imperatively step up our financial commitments to CITES enforcement. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Nigeria. I was happy to hear your introduction as well. Just going forward, if we have multiple parties introducing the documents, if we could have a coordination. I'm just taking the first party that takes the floor, who is a proponent. So we'll open the floor, and I did say I would take Mali. So Mali, you have the floor.
Merci bien, Madame la Présidente. Madame la Présidente, l'intervention qui a été faite par le Niger et suite par le Nigeria, le Mali est un pays concerné par le même problème, en ce sens qu'aujourd'hui, nous avons des difficultés pour pouvoir renforcer les capacités de notre pays. Donc, du coup, pour lutter contre la criminalité, il faut justement soutenir ce projet. Et pour ce faire, nous serons d'accord avec la promotion d'une collaboration renforcée entre les pays d'origine, de transit et de consommation. Au-delà de tout ça, Madame la Présidente, comme vous l'avez souhaité, être en tout cas bref, je voudrais que l'établissement d'un fonds de mise en application de la CITES est un acte très positif. Et ce fonds compléterait la stratégie de lutte contre la criminalité liée aux espèces sauvages en Afrique de l'Ouest. Et du coup, comme l'a proposé le Niger, l'établissement d'un groupe intersectionnel sera en tout cas la bienvenue. Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Mali. I will take Benin, followed by China. Benin, you have the floor.
Okay. Merci, Madame la Présidente. Le Bénin soutient donc les amendements proposés au niveau du document COP, au niveau du document 36.2, donc avec les projets d'amendement à la décision 18.90. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you. China, you have the floor.
The actives outlined in the draft decisions in document 36.1 and 36.2 can already be implemented using existing process. We support the revision of the paragraph W. Thank you.
Thank you, China. I will hear from Togo, followed by Gabon, followed by the European Union. Togo, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. La lutte contre la criminalité liée aux espèces sauvages en Afrique de l'Ouest est une préoccupation du Togo. C'est pour cela que le Togo soutient vraiment les propositions du Niger, du Nigeria et du Mali. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Togo. Gabon.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je me rends compte que mes prédécesseurs ont été très brefs, donc je vais peut-être bénéficier de rallonge de temps pour utiliser leurs minutes. Alors, je remercie les auteurs du document COP19 Doc 36.2 et le Gabon est satisfait de voir ainsi mis en avant les discussions sur la pérennisation du financement de la mise en application de la CITES. La CITES doit effectivement être appliquée et respectée efficacement et durablement dans toutes les régions et cela nécessite des ressources financières et techniques suffisantes. Madame la Présidente, le Gabon se réjouit que les auteurs du document aient accepté de supprimer la spécificité régionale de la discussion concernant un fonds d'application de la CITES. En effet, nous sommes conscients que de nombreuses autres régions pourraient et devraient bénéficier d'un soutien accru en matière de mise en application de la CITES, y compris ma région de l'Afrique centrale. Le Gabon soutient également les efforts de la région pour renforcer l'application de la CITES en vue d'identifier et de protéger les espèces de bois, notamment dans la région de l'Afrique de l'Ouest. Au vu de ce qui précède, le Gabon soutient les décisions contenues dans le document 36.2 et recommande leur adoption. Merci Madame la Présidente. Et finalement, je n'ai pas eu besoin de plus de temps. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Gabon. I am pleased to say I will go to the European Union next, but I am pleased to say on my list quite some number of parties from West and Central Africa. So I am going to close my list shortly. So if there's anybody else who would like to take the floor that has not, I would like to hear you, but we do need to keep moving. Thank you everyone for being brief. So I will close my list now because I haven't had anyone else added. So European Union, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The EU and its member states thank the Standing Committee for the work summarized in Document 31. We also like to thank Côte d'Ivoire, Gambia, Liberia, Niger, and Nigeria, and Senegal as well, on the progress made on wildlife crime enforcement and the challenges the region faces outlined in Document 36.2. Even though the region has taken commendable steps in implementing Decision 18.88 and 18.89, we recognize the urgency with which wildlife crime needs to be addressed in West and Central Africa. We recognize as well that the implementation of CITES and the wildlife crime enforcement poses significant challenges around the world and in this region as well. It is important to avoid duplication of already existing activities or networks and focus on gaps in enforcement and targeting challenges that are not already dealt with. We therefore agree with the comments by the Secretariat regarding existing activities and networks, like using the secure channels by Interpol and WCO, or pursuing the implementation of the outcome document of the Task Force on Illegal Trade in specimens of CITES listed 3 species, or even analyzing the data of the newly established CITES illegal trade database as a resource to develop appropriate law enforcement responses. In the same vein, we see value in the comments by the Secretariat that IQIC might provide a more practical and feasible manner to undertake the work envisaged compared to the establishment of a Standing Committee intersessional working group. While we fully recognize that funding is a core challenge for enforcement, We agree with the Secretariat that the establishment and management of a CITES enforcement fund would require significant effort and investment, including human resources and administration costs. And like the Secretariat, we encourage all parties to make use of existing programs and projects managed by the Secretariat, like IQUIC, the Compliance Assistance Program, or other programs as Interpol Environmental Crime Program, or the UNODC Global Program for Combating Wildlife and Forest Crime. In conclusion, we are of the opinion that the set of draft decisions proposed by the Secretariat under paragraph W in document 36.1 are the most practical and feasible manner to tackle the urgent issue of wildlife crime enforcement support in West and Central Africa. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, European Union. I will take Liberia, followed by Burkina Faso. Liberia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Given the fact that Liberia is member of the West African region, where vigorous steps are taken against illegal wildlife trade, Liberia would like to align itself with the position of Ghana, not Ghana, Niger, Mali, Nigeria, and Benin. Thank you.
Thank you, Liberia. Burkina Faso.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Le Burkina Faso voudrait parler un peu du réseau de lutte contre la criminalité liée aux espèces sauvages en Afrique de l'Ouest et de la proposition de décision traitant de ce réseau dans le document 36.2. Le Burkina Faso est totalement engagé dans l'éradication de la criminalité liée aux espèces sauvages sur son territoire. Nous avons la plus grande population d'éléphants restante dans la région ouest africaine et nous abritons également la composante Burkina Faso du parc W d'importance mondiale. Nous partageons des complexes d'air protégés transfrontaliers avec le Bénin, le Niger, le Ghana, la Côte d'Ivoire et le Mali. La protection de cette biodiversité n'est pas un défi facile à relever. Nous avons de très larges frontières avec 6 pays différents et des ressources partagées avec ces pays. À titre d'exemple, les éléphants et les hippopotames avec le Bénin et le Niger, les éléphants avec le Ghana, les hippopotames et les éléphants avec la Côte d'Ivoire et le Mali. Nous devons donc collaborer avec tous ces pays et avec ceux de notre région pour garantir l'efficacité de notre réponse à la criminalité. Madame la Présidente, ces criminels sont très organisés et profitent souvent des failles de nos institutions et de nos législations. Ils utilisent des armes modernes et des méthodes comptables complexes. Nos surveillants sont mis en danger quotidiennement et certains ont perdu la vie. Nous ne pouvons espérer combattre ces criminels sans coopération. C'est pourquoi le réseau de lutte contre la criminalité liée aux espèces sauvages en Afrique de l'Ouest sera un instrument important pour notre région et même pour la région du centre. Mais nous sommes conscients que d'autres régions disposent également de réseaux de lutte contre la criminalité établis. Nous devrions pouvoir en tirer profit. Nous devrions partager nos expériences afin de nous assurer que nous mettons en place les meilleurs mécanismes possibles pour lutter contre les organisations criminelles transnationales. Il s'agit d'un effort de collaboration et nous demandons l'indulgence des parties pour adopter les projets de décision amendés contenus dans le DOC 36.2 et soutenus par nos prédécesseurs, les partis comme le Bénin, le Niger, le Togo et le Mali. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Burkina Faso. I will take Singapore, followed by Senegal. Singapore, you have the floor.
Sorry. Thank you, Chair. Singapore echoes EU views that there are existing funding mechanisms in place and there is no need to set up another separate fund for this activity. Thank you.
Thank you, Singapore. Senegal, followed by Zimbabwe. Senegal, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je ne sais pas si nous avons des problèmes avec notre console, auquel cas nous demandons aux techniciens de bien revoir la situation de notre console. Voilà 3 documents sur lesquels on a fait déposer pour un point, mais on n'est jamais pris. Alors, le Sénégal, naturellement, s'associe au document 36 et surtout présenté par le Niger et le Nigeria. Nous avons un projet de stratégie de lutte contre la criminalité liée aux espèces sauvages qui, je crois bien, a été posté à la COP19 pour document d'information. Et nous tenons beaucoup à ce document parce que la lutte contre la criminalité liée aux espèces sauvages ne saura être l'affaire des pays d'origine et des pays de destination. À l'intermédiaire, nous avons les pays de transit. Et vous voyez, surtout quand il y a les connexions avec les zoonoses, je crois que la communauté CITES doit être très vigilante en la matière pour prendre des dispositions. Et ce fonds, il serait très important de le mettre parce qu'il ne sert à rien d'inscrire, par exemple, les espèces et puis qu'on n'ait pas des activités derrière pour la mise en œuvre. Donc la mise en œuvre, le contrôle fait partie de la mise en œuvre. Donc c'est en ce sens que la CEDEAO, qui regroupe 15 États, a produit un document que nous sentons vraiment l'appui de la communauté CITES pour que ce document puisse aboutir dans le bon terme. Merci.
Thank you, Senegal. Zimbabwe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Zimbabwe is of the position that the existing regional cooperative arrangements within the West African region and the existing CITES regulations can address the enforcement challenges faced thereto. We therefore agree with the recommendations of the Secretariat and reject the adoption of draft decisions in Annexure 1 and 2 of Document 36.1. We also urge the sub-region to continue strengthening their national enforcement initiatives, including law enforcement training and all of the technologies in law enforcement. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Zimbabwe. So I have 4 more speakers on my list. I will take Côte d'Ivoire, followed by Ghana. Côte d'Ivoire, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. La Côte d'Ivoire prend la lutte contre la criminalité liée aux espèces sauvages et la mise en application de la CITES très au sérieux. Nous sommes sur le point de valider, comme beaucoup d'autres pays d'Afrique de l'Ouest, notre stratégie nationale de lutte contre la criminalité liée aux espèces sauvages et d'établir une équipe spéciale de lutte contre la criminalité liée aux espèces sauvages. Nous sommes déterminés à faire en sorte que les trafiquants d'espèces sauvages soient arrêtés et condamnés. Nous sommes aussi déterminés à développer des avis de commerce non préjudiciables, fiables et fondés sur la science pour appliquer les inscriptions CITES de plus en plus nombreuses. Madame la Présidente, nous encourageons vivement toutes les parties à soutenir le document 36.2. Nous pensons que la mise en œuvre et l'application de la CITES sont essentielles pour l'intégrité de cette convention. Nous parlons toujours d'un manque de financement pour la CITES. Nous inscrivons de plus en plus d'espèces, mais nous manquons de fonds pour mettre en œuvre ces inscriptions. Les autres conventions, telles que celles qui traitent de la biodiversité et du climat, tiennent de plus en plus de discussions proactives pour résoudre le manque de financement. Pourquoi la CITES est-elle différente? Nous devons créer un fonds et travailler ensemble pour attirer des fonds importants dévoués à la mise en œuvre des résolutions de la CITES. Je demande donc à toutes les parties de soutenir cette importante initiative et je souhaite la mise en place d'un groupe de travail pour mettre en commun les différentes décisions proposées. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Côte d'Ivoire. Ghana, followed by the Gambia. Ghana, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving Ghana the floor. Ghana is a state in West Africa, and it's conversant with the document 36.2 presented by Côte d'Ivoire, Gambia, Nigeria, Senegal. Ghana also knows the benefits that will accrue from adoption of this document. Ghana will therefore like to align herself with the proponents of this document and will encourage all parties to see to its adoption. Thank you.
Thank you, Ghana. The Gambia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, for giving me the floor. The Gambia would like to support the decision contained in document 36.2. Here we know with concern the extensive changes to the decision proposed by the Secretariat, and we are not in support of these changes. Gambia is committed to implementation of the West Africa Strategy on combating wildlife crime, and in 2023, we will be establishing a national wildlife crime strategy and wildlife law enforcement task force. The Gambia strongly supports the decision to establish a CITES enforcement fund to assist us in our endeavor to protect our wild fauna and flora, which is highly threatened from transnational organized crime. Gambia also supports the decision to establish a timber working group. Gambia encourages other parties to support the decision in this document. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, the Gambia. My final speaker is Japan. Japan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Very briefly, Japan supports the document 36.1 submitted by the Standing Committee and the comment of the Secretariat on this document. Thank you.
Thank you, Japan. I will just take a moment with the Secretariat to confer. Okay, thank you everyone for your patience. I was just trying to come to the most productive way forward at this point in time. Observers, I'm noting that I haven't come to you, but I think I have a reason. So we have been considering all of your comments. We have heard more interventions in favour of document 36.2, but party by party, the count is, I'm seeing more support for the Secretariat's amended decisions in 36.1. Rather than going back and forth on that here, what I would like to do is strike a working group of interested parties and observers to see if there is some more middle ground that can be come to between the two documents. I think it would be worth having a working group just to see what we can achieve. And as I've said, I don't think those level of deliberations are as useful here. So observers, if you will indulge me not taking you again, I will invite membership of the working group. So my proposal, given that I do think there is more support for the decisions as articulated in the amendments by the Secretariat, is that we will have a working group that works from those amended decisions, taking into account all of the deliberations we've had here. So I would invite all of those parties with views to join this working group and return to the committee with a set of consolidated decisions as far as possible for us to consider in the next day or two. So I will take party attendance, party membership of that working group now. Okay, I'm going to close membership of the group given the size, and I'm just looking at the regional spread and the interest in the matter. I do think we have captured a good number of the proponents on document 36.2, as well as the representatives of the parties who have expressed an interest. So I will read my list. European Union, United States of America, Senegal, Niger, Nigeria, Austria, Ghana, Benin, Côte d'Ivoire, Cameroon, United Kingdom, Gabon, Liberia, Czech Republic, Tanzania, and Japan. We have the parties, thank you. Technicians. So I would like to invite observer membership of that working group. Observers, if you'd like to be on the working group. Okay, I have Pan-African Sanctuary Alliance, EIA UK, Born Free USA, HSI, AWF, Wildlife Conservation Society, Flora Fauna International, CIEL, and RBGE. So that will be our working group. And we will look forward to seeing that in-session document. We will move on to our next document, CoP19, Doc 37, Wildlife Crime Linked to the Internet. This document has been prepared by the Secretariat, so the Secretariat will introduce it. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Gracias, señora presidenta. El documento ha sido preparado por la Secretaría y destaca que las autoridades están respondiendo cada vez más y demostrando compromiso en sus esfuerzos por combatir los delitos contra la vida silvestre vinculados a Internet, pero que estos esfuerzos deben continuar. La Secretaría alienta a las partes a continuar y a que utilicen las herramientas y los servicios disponibles en apoyo a sus esfuerzos. La decisión 1881 alienta a las partes a aprovechar la capacidad establecida en Interpol para el asesoramiento y la asistencia en sus esfuerzos para combatir los delitos contra la vida silvestre vinculados a Internet. La notificación 2019-42 se publicó para informar sobre cómo acceder a este recurso. Una notificación actualizada se publicó en octubre del 2022, la notificación 2022-75, que sustituye a la anterior, para informar a las partes que este recurso ahora está disponible en la Secretaría General de Interpol. La decisión 1882 fomenta el uso de las directrices de Interpol tituladas Delitos contra la vida silvestre relacionados con Internet, directrices prácticas para el personal de aplicación de la ley. Las directrices son de distribución restringida y están disponibles en árabe, español, francés e inglés. La Secretaría señala que la decisión 1883 se completó y se resumió la información recibida, que está disponible en la página web sobre los delitos contra la vida silvestre vinculados a Internet. El documento también informa sobre las actividades realizadas de acuerdo con la decisión 1884, en particular la página web, el glosario para incorporar la terminología acordada en las resoluciones y decisiones pertinentes y el apoyo del ICWIC, el Consorcio Internacional para combatir los delitos contra la vida silvestre. La página web y el glosario fueron actualizados y las enmiendas propuestas por la Secretaría a las resoluciones se presentan en el documento COP, documento 26, sobre la revisión de las resoluciones y se debatirá en ese punto del orden del día. Debido a la naturaleza continua de las decisiones 1881 a 83, la Secretaría propone incorporarlas, así como las disposiciones pertinentes de la decisión 84 en la resolución CONF 11.3 REFCOP 18, tal como se presenta en el anexo 1. También se proponen nuevos proyectos de decisión en el anexo 2. Las recomendaciones de la Secretaría están disponibles en el párrafo 18. Gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you, Secretariat. So we'll open the floor for parties commenting on this document. I will take Zimbabwe, followed by the European Union. Zimbabwe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Zimbabwe is in support of the adoption of the draft decisions as contained in Annexes 1 and 2 of Document 37 we so submit.
Thank you, Zimbabwe. European Union.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of the EU and its member states, we would like to thank the Secretariat for the preparation of the document. We support the changes to the resolution CONF 11.3, RevCOP 18, and the draft decisions. We would like to propose one amendment in Decision 19AA. We suggest that together with best practices, also national laws put in place by parties to address wildlife crime linked to the internet should be identified. So we therefore suggest an addition to the paragraph, which will then read, Subject to external funding, the Secretariat shall commission a study to identify the CITES listed species that are most commonly found in illegal trade on digital and online platforms, addition national laws, as well as best practices put in place by parties to address wildlife crime linked to the internet. We encourage all parties to check the wildlife crime linked to the internet webpage, where several interesting documents, such as guidelines for law enforcement practitioners, are available, as well as examples of best practices and model measures received from parties and IQWIC. Given that an important volume of trade has moved online, we would like to encourage parties to take appropriate steps to combat wildlife crime linked to the internet. Thank you.
Thank you, Indonesia. Thank you, European Union. I will take Indonesia, followed by Mali. Indonesia, you have the floor.
Good day. Thank you, Chair, for giving Indonesia the floor. Indonesia really appreciate all the delegates for praying for the victim of the earthquake, which just happened today in Indonesia. This really shows the high spirit of solidarity among CITES contracting parties. While on our current agenda, Indonesia would like to support the decision under document 37. However, we would like to confirm some of the terminology used in the proposed amendment to resolution COP 11.3 Ref CoP18 para 16A and 16B present in Annex 1 to avoid the inconsistency and avoid a confuse the use of the term with live crime link to the internet, illegal internet-based trade, and illegal online trade. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Indonesia. I think we have captured that. Mali, followed by Niger. Mali, you have the floor.
Merci bien, Madame la Présidente. Comme les autres, je pourrais vous dire, Madame la Présidente, ici que cet aspect a été évoqué à la COP18. Alors, nous avons demandé justement à ce que le secrétariat qui vient d'élaborer ce document, que ce document soit soutenu par les autres parties. En ce sens que nous demandons également au secrétariat de mettre à la disposition les informations et les recherches connexes sur le site web de la CITES. Parce que c'est aussi important pour nous permettre justement de connaître ce qui se passe et ce qu'il y a lieu de faire et en rapport avec qui. Donc par ailleurs, nous sollicitons également le secrétariat de commander une étude pour l'identification des espèces inscrites à la CITES les plus couramment trouvées dans le commerce illégal sur des plateformes numériques et en ligne. Merci bien, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you. Niger, followed by Guinea. Niger, you have the floor.
Ok, merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. Le Niger remercie le secrétariat pour avoir préparé et présenté ce document. Madame la Présidente, voyez-vous où l'importance du réseau ouest-africain est importante dans cette dynamique? Ça vient renforcer les lois nationaux en termes de trafic d'espèces. Madame la Présidente, les pays sont fortement affectés par la criminalité en ligne liée au réseau d'Internet, ce qui a tendance à accroître la criminalité dans nos pays et affecte les efforts de conservation et les efforts dans le cadre de l'appui à la Convention CITES au niveau des pays. C'est pourquoi nous demandons au secrétariat de continuer à capaciter les pays dans le cadre de cette nouvelle dynamique de commerce afin que les pays puissent avoir les outils à côté et pouvoir accompagner la CITES et de décourager ces réseaux. Parce que comme nous le connaissons tous, c'est des gens qui changent chaque fois des stratégies pour pouvoir anéantir les efforts que nous menons. Je vous remercie, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Niger. I am going to shortly close my list. I will take Guinea next. So anyone who wants to be on my list, Okay, I will close my list now. Just for parties, observers, I will come to you. So we'll take Guinea followed by Senegal. Guinea, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je crois que la Guinée va s'aligner automatiquement derrière ce document parce que, en notre sens, ce document permettra d'apporter des connaissances sur le fonctionnement des réseaux criminels, leur mode opératoire, l'identification et l'analyse des chaînes d'approvisionnement illégales, la conduite des enquêtes sous couverture, les renseignements, les opérations d'arrestation. Je crois que ce document a plus qu'à mon sens, un document très important pour la sous-région. Donc nous nous alignons derrière ce document. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Guinea. I have Senegal followed by India. Senegal, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Le Sénégal prend la parole pour soutenir le document en ce sens que, en ce troisième millénaire, nous ne saurions occulter la criminalité à travers l'Internet dans le commerce des espèces de faune et de flore. Nous, par le passé, on a eu à gérer 2 cas comme ça, grâce à une collaboration avec le parquet de Paris, via l'ambassade de France à Dakar. Ils nous ont filé l'information et on a poursuivi les trafiquants. Et c'est au bout de 1 an et 6 mois que nous sommes tombés sur le réseau de trafiquants de bracelets à base de poils d'éléphant, pour une valeur marchande très importante. C'est dire qu'on ne peut pas ignorer cette manière de trafiquer via l'Internet. Et pour cela, mon collègue l'a dit, le Sénégal soutient le document, en ce sens que dans notre stratégie de lutte qu'on a tantôt évoquée, nous comptons mettre un réseau de lutte contre le trafic via l'Internet. Merci.
Thank you, Senegal. India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Wildlife Crime Control Bureau, under the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change in India, has been working on curbing internet-enabled wildlife crime since 2016. The WCCB, along with interested civil societies such as Traffic India, WCS, and WTI, has conducted several rounds of coordination meetings with nodal officers of internet service providers, trade portals, social media platforms, and other stakeholders to seek coordination and cooperation to curb wildlife cybercrime. The officials of WCCB and state forest and police officials have been trained in securing digital evidence and cyber investigation by CITES, the National Cybercrime Training Center, which is the part of Premier Agency, National Crime Record Bureau, New Delhi, which has resulted in increased detection and enforcement in this field. The volunteer schemes of WCCB and initiations taken by the above stated partner agencies have been very helpful in multiplying hands in accumulating keywords and gathering information of internet-enabled illegal wildlife trade. The WCCB has also been conducting cyber patrolling and sharing the actionable inputs to the state and central law enforcement agencies in India. The WCCB has already streamlined an operation series codenamed as Operation WildNet and has successfully concluded operations in 2017, 2019, 2020, and 2021. The reports of the Operation WildNet are also shared with the CITES Secretariat and hosted on website of CITES Secretariat. The India supports the proposed amendments to the Resolution Conference 11.3, Revision CoP19 on compliance and enforcement as in Annexure 1, and draft decision on wildlife crime linked to internet as in Annexure 2 of the CITES CoP19 Doc 37. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, India. I have 3 more party speakers, so we will take Burkina Faso, followed by the United Kingdom, followed by Nigeria. Burkina Faso.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. Nous remercions le secrétariat pour la proposition de ce document. Il faut dire qu'une investigation sur le commerce des espèces sauvages à partir des plateformes électroniques va donner sans doute des informations qui va nous permettre de démanteler des réseaux criminels et de pouvoir peaufiner ou affiner nos stratégies de lutte. Et ce phénomène, dans mon pays, au Burkina, nous l'avons récemment vu, et ce sont parfois des faits troublants dans la mesure où ce sont les populations elles-mêmes qui, après avoir vu ces éléments sur le net, interpellent l'administration, et dans la plupart des cas, il nous est très difficile de mettre la main sur ces derniers. Et donc, de notre point de vue, le phénomène semble dépasser surtout nos pays qui ont quand même un certain niveau bas en matière de système d'information sur l'Internet. Et donc, pour nous, une investigation vraiment qui va nous permettre de pouvoir cerner ces contours est une bonne chose. Et dans cette mesure, nous, le Burkina, tout comme les autres pays qui viennent d'intervenir, Sénégal, Niger, Mali et autres, nous soutenons en tout cas le document du secrétariat et je vous remercie beaucoup.
Thank you, Burkina Faso. United Kingdom, you have the floor.
We thank the Secretariat for submitting the document. The UK recognises, while progress is being made in addressing wildlife crime linked to the internet, significant challenges in monitoring and enforcement remain, with online markets continuing to facilitate and drive the illegal trade in many species of both fauna and flora. As such, we support the draft decisions CoP19, Doc 37, Annex 2. There is significant work that has been done to analyse fauna species, but significant gaps remain on flora. We also support the amendments to the resolution. We hope this study will build on existing research and address these gaps, allowing parties and non-state actors to better address the illegal trade.
Thank you, United Kingdom. And my final party speaker is Nigeria. Nigeria, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nigeria thank the Secretariat for submitting this document, and also want to say it will help us to understand the operation of internet wildlife crime, and this will also help us to monitor their activities and also find ways of coping their operations. We therefore support this document. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigeria. I had closed my party list, but I have Turkey asking for the floor, and we have not heard from them yet. So I would like to briefly give Turkey the floor, and then I will take observers. Turkey, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Turkey is taking the floor first time in Committee 2. First of all, congratulations on being elected chair, and we want to thank Panama for the hospitality. We are sorry about the earthquake in Indonesia. We thank the Secretariat for this comprehensive report, and we support this proposal. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So I will open the floor to a few observers. Observers, if you would like the floor. I4, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Since this is the first time IFL has taken the floor, we wish to thank the government and people of Panama for their warm welcome and all the hard work by the government of Panama and the Secretariat in preparing for this conference. And we congratulate you, Chair, on your appointment and efforts so far at this meeting. Wildlife crime linked to the internet continues to pose significant challenges to enforcement agencies. These challenges have been exacerbated by the pandemic, where in the absence of physical marketplaces, the shift to online markets has accelerated even further. Wildlife criminals continue to exploit these opportunities, and it demands a different response from parties and other stakeholders. We welcome, therefore, the proposed amendments to ResComp 11.3, RevCop 18 on compliance and enforcement, contained in Annex 1 of Document 37, encouraging parties to share information on best practices and measures to tackle wildlife crime linked to the internet, and to make use of tools such as the Interpol guidelines. However, we question the value of the first part of proposed decision 19AA and Annex 2, which would task the Secretariat with commissioning a study to identify CITES listed species commonly found in illegal internet trade. Many such studies exist already, at least for animal species, including many by our own organization and others. We do not believe it would be likely that another study would reveal additional information. Therefore, we believe scarce resources would be better directed to the second area of focus in Decision 19AA of best practices. Bringing to light such best practices would be significant benefit to all parties who grapple with how to face these challenges. We note that best practices are already starting to be developed by a range of experts, practitioners, and academics. We also support the proposal by the EU to include the language national laws in Decision 19AA. We encourage parties to make use of such materials, including the expert advice provided by Interpol. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ifor. Okay, thank you everyone for the discussions. I think what I'm hearing is very strong support for these amendments and the initiatives. So I will sum up where I think the committee has landed today. So I think that we agree to the amendments to Resolution Conf 11.3 Rev CoP 18 on compliance and enforcement in Annex 1, with the suggestion by Indonesia for consistency of language when we're referring to wildlife crime linked to the internet. So we've noted that. Thank you, Indonesia. I think that we agree to the draft decisions contained in Annex 2 to the present document, again with the amendment from the European Union. Their amendment suggesting the consideration also of national laws. And I think that we agree to the Secretariat's suggestion for the deletion of decisions 18.81 to 18.85 on wildlife crime linked to the internet as they've been implemented or incorporated into the resolution Conf 11.3 Rev CoP 18. So we still have an hour before lunch and we are making excellent progress. Thank you, everyone. I would like to start the species-specific matters. Technicians, if you could clear my screen, please, so we can start this discussion. So at the request of the parties, we have moved this item earlier in the agenda. That was a decision that was taken by the plenary. So hopefully you are looking at the revised version of the working program because it is time to consider CoP19 document 68 on Asian big cats. Thank you, Secretariat. So this document has been prepared by the Secretariat in consultation with the Chair of the Standing Committee. The Secretariat will introduce the document. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. The present document was prepared by the Secretariat in consultation with the Chair of the Standing Committee. The document represents the report of the Secretariat to the Conference of the Parties in accordance with the Resolution Conf 12.5 Rev CoP 18 on conservation of and trade in tigers and other Appendix 1 Asian big cat species. It includes reporting on the implementation of the resolution and decisions 18100 to 18109 on illegal trade in Asian big cats, as well as decision 17226, which remains in effect, and decision 1469 on captive bred and ranch specimens, which also remains in effect. The document further highlights the recommendations on Asian big cats agreed by the Standing Committee at its 74th meeting. As reported in the document, SC 74 requested the Secretariat to work with the Standing Committee Chair to propose to CoP19 the renewal of decisions 18100 to 18109 17226 and 1469. The Secretariat, as requested, worked with the Chair of the Standing Committee to revise and update the decisions to ensure that they remain current. The Secretariat in the present document elaborate on the implementation of the decisions mentioned and upon further review propose to delete the decisions that have been implemented or that are redundant to Resolution Conf 12.5 Rev CoP 18 and to replace some of the decisions with new draft decisions or amendments to Resolution Conf 12.5. The revised and new draft decisions are presented in Annex 2 to the present document. The recommendations of the Secretariat, formulated after consultation with the Standing Committee Chair, are presented in paragraph 28 of the present document as follows. The Conference of the Parties is invited to adopt the amendments to Resolution Conf 12.5 Rev CoP 18 contained in Annex 1. Retain Decision 1469 as presented in Annex 2. Adopt Draft Decision 19AA as presented in Annex 2. Adopt the revised decisions as mentioned in paragraph 28D of the present document and presented in Annex 2, and to delete the decisions mentioned in paragraph 28E of the present document. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Secretariat. I'll open the floor to parties. I will take India, followed by the United States, followed by Malaysia. India, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the only range state for all Asian big cat species, India is committed to maintain viable populations of these charismatic creatures for future generations. The Government of India has invested significantly in Asian big cat conservation through focused programs such as Project Tiger, Project Snow Leopard, and Project Lion. Despite all challenges, we are proud to be home to 70% of the world's wild tiger population. Now the coverage of Project Tiger has increased to 75,000 square kilometers, encompassing 53 tiger reserves. We are also pleased to report that our tiger population is showing an increasing trend at the rate of 6% annually on an average. India's sincere efforts have been recognized at the international level, and India has the largest number of conservation assured tiger standards or CAT sites, comprising of 17 tiger reserves and 3 other tiger habitats. To improve effectiveness of management of our tiger reserves, the central government conducts a management effectiveness evaluation of all tiger reserves once in every 4 years cycle in the country, and the 5th cycle of this independent evaluation is ongoing. Madam Chair, despite these conservation successes, poaching and illegal trade in body parts due to demand driven by consumer countries are the biggest threat to our tiger conservation efforts. We remain concerned at the lack of progress in the implementation of CITES recommendations on Asian big cats. India supports the amendments to Resolution 12.5 in Annex 1 and the draft decisions in Annex 2 of the document. However, we do not support the deletion of decisions 18.100, 18.101, 18.106, and 18.107, even though aspects of these decisions are mentioned in Resolution 12.5, they were adopted at COP18 to address specific findings in the review of Resolution 12.5 that was presented in the Annex 4 to the document COP18 Doc 71.1. These decisions are yet to be implemented properly and should not be deleted. In addition to this, we feel that this COP should adopt specific decisions to address well-documented issues which we had also raised at SC 75. We remind the parties that as per decision 18.109, this COP should have been considering time-bound country-specific measures recommended by the Standing Committee. Parties that have not closed their domestic markets for commercial trade in Asian big cat parts and derivatives should report to the Standing Committee in its 77th and 78th meeting on what measures they are taking to ensure that such markets are not contributing to poaching or illegal trade. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, India. United States.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We support the comments just made by our colleague from India. We also just have one additional minor amendment to the proposed amendments in Resolution Conf, or in Annex 1 to the document concerning Resolution Conf 12.5 Rev CoP18, and that is to clarify that the intent of the behavior change initiatives is to end demand for tigers and other Asian big cat parts and derivatives. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, United States. I'll just note that. So I will take Malaysia, followed by the United Kingdom. Malaysia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving Malaysia the floor. Malaysia remains concerned about the high levels of demand for Asian big cat parts and products driving poaching of Asian big cats in range states. Regional cooperation and coordinated enforcement action is required to tackle the organized criminal networks involved in the illegal Asian big cat trade. We generally support the recommendation, but we would prefer if the decision 18.100 and 18.101 and 18.105 are retained, since these are yet to be implemented fully. We support the adoption of measures encouraging cooperation and enforcement action by affected parties. We also urge the COP to adopt a decision directing consumer states to implement government-led, science-based consumer behavior change campaign to reduce demand for Asian big cat parts and derivatives using the proposed CITES guidance on demand reduction in Annex 3 of CoP19.38. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Malaysia. United Kingdom, followed by Bangladesh. United Kingdom.
Thank you. We thank the Secretariat and the Chair of the Standing Committee for this document and echo many of the comments of the parties who've spoken already. The work of the Convention on Asian Big Cats is critical to their conservation. As such, the UK supports the suggested amendments to Resolution 12.5, including the additional amendments from the US we've just heard. We welcome the inclusion of the thunder-clouded leopard and the recognition of the benefits of forensic methods in combating the illegal trade. We also support the adoption of the new Decision 19AA on genetic research projects, as well as the non-substantive revisions to Decisions 18.102 and 18.103, and the deletion of Decisions 18.106 and 18.107. However, along with some of the parties, the UK does not support the deletion of Decisions 18.100, 18.101, and 18.105. These decisions aim to guide sustained efforts in delivering joint investigations, consolidating law enforcement cooperation, and adopting measures to address the illegal trade in leopard parts and derivatives. And as such, we consider the deletion of these decisions as premature. Lastly, though we are grateful for the Secretariat's efforts to conduct the missions to captive breeding facilities as directed by Decision 18.108, the UK remains concerned by the ongoing postponement of these visits. We therefore propose the inclusion of a clear timeframe for the delivery of and reporting on these missions in the proposed revised Decision 108 and 109, 18.108 and 18.109. We understand the preparations are well underway, and therefore it seems reasonable that the Secretariat should be able to conduct these missions by SC 77, and Standing Committee should be able to review these findings and make recommendations at SC 77 and 78. We have some text amendments to the decisions to that effect, if that would be helpful. So in Decision 18.108, after undertake a mission, we would include prior to SC 77. And that was in A. In B, we would, no, that one, I think that one's fine. And then in 18.109, we would add 77 and 78 so that it reads, the Standing Committee at its 77th and 78th meetings shall review. And that were our comments. Thank you.
Thank you, United Kingdom. Bangladesh, followed by Thailand. Bangladesh, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As a range state, we remain concerned by the continuing trade in tigers and their parts and products. At the core of the problem is demand for Asian big cat parts, and we urge the COP to adopt a decision directing consumer states to implement government-led science-based consumer behavior change campaigns to reduce demand for Asian big cat parts and derivatives. We support the retention of decisions 18100, 18101, and 18105, and the requirements for parties to report on progress of these decisions to the 77th and 78th meeting of the Standing Committee. We also support the suggested text as related to demand reduction. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Bangladesh. So I'll close my list now as it's been static. I will take Thailand, followed by the European Union before I open the floor for observers. Thailand, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thailand would like to thank the Secretariat for preparing the document. We support the recommendation made by the Secretariat as in paragraph 28 into the present document. However, we have the same concern as mentioned by Malaysia and Bangladesh and some other parties on the need to end demand on tiger consumption. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Thailand. European Union.
Thank you, Chair. The EU and its member states would like to thank the Secretariat for the preparation of this important summary report. We support proposed amendments to Resolution COP 12.5, Ref COP 18, and newly drafted decisions in this document. In order to strengthen the combating illegal trade in Asian big cat specimens, the EU and its member states support suggestions made by UK, Malaysia, and Bangladesh for the retaining of the decisions 8100, 8101, and 8105. On a general note, considering the importance of cooperation and avoiding overlap, we see clear merit in creating a mechanism to inform and strengthen the work of the Big Cat Task Force on gained insights as appropriate. In addition, we would like to propose a small amendment to the decision 19AA. In the text of the draft decision 19AA, para A, we propose to broaden the range of projects that the Secretariat should be informed about to also include other forensic methods rather than only genetic research projects, as broader variety of methods can be used, for example, morphological methods. We therefore suggest changing the words genetic research projects to forensic research projects, including genetic and other methods. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, European Union. I was just making sure I had captured your amendment there. So we will open the floor to observers. So we'll take 4 pause, followed by IAW. 4 pause, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I'm speaking on behalf of the Animal Welfare Institute, the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, the Environmental Investigation Agency, Born Free Foundation, Eurogroup for Animals, David Shepherd Wildlife Foundation, 4 Paws, HSI, Japan Tiger and Elephant Fund, Law of the Wild, Pantera, Robin Dubois, Species Survival Network, Wildlife Friends Foundation Thailand, Wildlife Trust of India, and the Pan-African Sanctuary Alliance. Asia's big cats are among the most endangered species in the wild, and populations continue to decline due to poaching and trafficking for their body parts. We are disappointed, therefore, with a persistent lack of reporting by parties on actions taken to implement Res Conf 12.5, Rev COP 18, and associated decisions. We support the interventions from the UK, USA, EU, Malaysia, Thailand, Bangladesh, and India, and take this opportunity to urge parties to call upon China to halt the production and sale of leopard bone pills and wine. We note that Vietnam has seized at least 43 tigers since COP 18 and secured convictions for traffickers involved in smuggling the tigers from Lao PDR, some of which are suspected to have originated from Lao and Thai facilities. We commend Vietnam for this enforcement action. In keeping with the recommended retention of Decision 18.100, we urge the parties to request Vietnam, Laos, PDR, and Thailand to report to SC77 on measures taken to conduct joint investigations and operations to halt the organized criminal networks operating across the region. Finally, regarding renewal of Decision 18.108 and upcoming missions, we welcome the intervention from the US at SC75, requesting the Secretariat to consult experts in the administration of sanctuaries, especially for big cats. Four Paws and Wildlife Friends Foundation Thailand are both present at this meeting, and we would be happy to share our best practice and lessons learned with parties and the Secretariat in managing viable sanctuaries where there is no breeding, buying, selling, or handling of big cats by visitors. Four Paws would like to reiterate its offer of funds to support the missions to the four remaining parties. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Four Paws. So I will take two more observers. I will take IAW, followed by Traffic. IAW.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As this is the first time that IAW has taken the floor, we would like to congratulate you on your election as Chair of Committee 1. IAW notes with concern the lack of significant progress in the conservation status of tigers and questions the wisdom of continuing to invest resources in activities which have not shown appreciable results. The mentality that trade bans will solve all conservation problems has come to dominate this convention and can lead us dangerously astray from root causes of species decline. This appears to be the case with tiger, because it is well documented that habitat loss is closely correlated with population declines. It is unfortunate that Decision 14.69 was not informed by science, and perhaps the lack of scientific rigor is one of the reasons why implementation remains problematic. IAW would therefore urge CITES to consider retiring Decision 14.69 so we can focus our scarce resources on measures that are underpinned by science. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, IAW. Traffic, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. This intervention is given on behalf of Traffic, WWF, WCS, FFI, and ZSL. The decisions adopted at CoP18 for addressing illegal trade in Asian big cats covered many important issues. Yet, in response to Notification 2020/039, only 5 of 31 range states reported on their implementation of these decisions, and that of ResCon 12.5 Rev CoP18. Our research and data continue to show immense pressure on Asian wild big cat populations from trade in their parts and products, both from wild and captive sources. This is the result of decades-long challenges around effective investigations, enforcement action, and effective demand reduction. Despite these ongoing challenges, Document 68 proposes the deletion of Decisions 18.100, 18.101, and 18.105 related to enforcement efforts and joint investigations aimed at disrupting organized crime networks and cross-border trade from tourist markets, as well as addressing the trade in leopards. As has been raised already by several parties, we urge that these decisions are not only retained, as they have not been demonstrably completed, but that their implementation is strengthened by including time-bound and country-specific language as referenced in Decision 18.109. We recognize that COVID travel restrictions delayed the missions to inspect captive Asian cat breeding facilities, and further note that missions to 3 countries are planned for January 2023. We strongly urge that the other missions are also completed without further delay, given that they were first agreed in 2016, and there is an urgency to the issue. Assurance should further be sought that relevant expertise is available to the mission delegation, including on the management of big cat sanctuaries. We stand ready to support effective implementation of these missions. Finally, we urge parties to address the long-standing problem by identifying a strong mechanism for reporting on decisions and the resolution on illegal trade in Asian big cats. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Traffic. Okay, thank you everyone. So I think we are ready to sum up. So it's my conclusion that we agree to the amendments to Resolution Conf 12.5, Rev CoP 18 on conservation of and trade in tigers and other Appendix 1 Asian big cat species as contained in Annex 1 and as amended by the United States in paragraph 5D. That we agree to retain Decision 14.69 as presented in Annex 2. We agree to draft Decision 19AA as presented in Annex 2 and as amended by the EU in paragraph 19AA little a. That we adopt decisions, we agree to the decisions 18.102 and 18.103, and we also agree to decisions 18.108 and 18.109 as amended by the United Kingdom as regards the reporting timeline. I think we agree to delete decisions 17.226 and decision 18.104, but we do not agree to delete 18.100, 18.101, 18.105, 18.106, and 18.107. And in regard to 18.107, the Secretariat has just highlighted to me that there will just need to be a consequential editorial amendment to that to ensure that that decision continues to refer to the decisions that have been maintained in our discussions. So I think that is our conclusion, committee. So we will move on to CoP19 document 75. It is Rev 1. This document has been prepared by the Standing Committee and the Secretariat. The Secretariat will introduce the document. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chair, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Document CoP19, Doc 75, Rev 1, has been prepared by the Standing Committee and the Secretariat and includes reporting on the implementation of decisions 18110 to 18116 on rhinoceroses, reporting in accordance with Resolution Conf 9.14, Rev CoP 17, and additional reporting as appropriate. The reporting of the Standing Committee is presented in paragraphs 5 to 10, and the reporting of the Secretariat is presented in paragraphs 11 to 69 of the present document. Regarding the reporting of the Standing Committee, the committee provides reporting on its implementation of Decision 18.113 and the recommendations agreed at its 74th meeting. As directed by Decision 18.113, the Standing Committee also prepared proposals for consideration by the Conference of the Parties. In this regard, the committee, in the context of Decision 18.115, agreed to propose amendments to paragraphs 7E and 8 in the Resolution Conf 9.14 Rev CoP 17 as presented in Annex 2. The committee also agreed to propose that Decision 18.116, which concerns parties in which illegal markets for rhino horn exist, and the development of demand reduction programs targeted at key identified audiences, be renewed as presented in Annex 3. Further, the committee requested that the Secretariat work with the Standing Committee Chair to propose to CoP19 a draft decision to convene a second meeting of the CITES Rhinoceros Enforcement Task Force. In this regard, the Secretariat, with the Chair of the Standing Committee, prepared draft decisions 19FF and 19GG as presented in Annex 3. Regarding the reporting of the Secretariat reports that it has required by the provisions of Resolution COP 9.14 Ref COP 17, commissioned and worked with the IUCN SSC, African and Asian Rhino Specialist Group and Traffic to develop a report on rhinoceroses for the present meeting. The report is presented in Annex 4 to the present document. Key matters concerning African and Asian rhinos outlined in the report are highlighted in its executive summary. The Secretariat also elaborates on some of these matters in the present document, which includes the national and continental conservation status and trends of African and Asian rhinos, illegal killing of rhinos in Africa and Asia, illegal trade in rhino horn and enforcement efforts, poaching and trafficking challenges, and activities to reduce demand for rhino horn. The document also includes a section on parties most affected by illegal trade in rhino horn. On the basis of the report presented in Annex 4, the Secretariat focuses its reporting on the 7 parties most affected by this illegal trade during the period 2018 to 2020. These are South Africa, China, including Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of China, Vietnam, Malaysia, Mozambique, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. In addition, the Secretariat included Botswana as party for which a significant decline in rhino populations was observed. And the Secretariat in this regard also notes document COP19 Inf 71, which was submitted to this document by Botswana. The Secretariat further provides reporting on the updating of the Directory of Illegal Trade in Rhino Horn focal points. Based on the findings of the report prepared for COP19 as presented in Annex 4, the conclusions of the Secretariat concerning parties most affected by illegal trade in rhino horn, and the reporting provided in the present document on the Directory of Illegal Trade in Rhino Horn focal points, the Secretariat proposed draft decisions 19AA to 19EE for consideration as presented in Annex 3. In paragraph 69 of the document, the Secretariat provides justification for the deletion of decisions 18110 to 18115. The recommendations prepared for consideration by the Conference of the Parties are presented in paragraph 70 of the present document. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Secretariat. So I will open the floor to parties. I see Benin, followed by the United Kingdom. Benin, you have the floor.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la Présidente. Donc, le Bénin soutient donc les recommandations qui ont été formulées dans le document. Bon, cependant, en raison donc des propositions importantes qui ont été faites, le Bénin recommande également peut-être la formation d'un groupe de travail en session pour pouvoir analyser convenablement les propositions qui ont été faites, notamment au niveau de l'annexe 3, le document, je pense qu'il est au niveau de l'annexe 3.
Thank you, Benin. United Kingdom, followed by the United Arab Emirates. United Kingdom.
Thank you, Chair. We thank the Standing Committee and the Secretariat for this extremely helpful document. We are encouraged that overall rhino poaching rates have declined since 2018 and are more than half those reported in the mid-2010s. We would like to acknowledge and commend the efforts being made in this regard. Yet, illegal killing of rhinos persists and demand for rhino horn remains high. Regarding the proposed new decisions, the UK has some amendments which we consider would ensure we best reflect the report in front of us today and would help ensure the Standing Committee has the best available evidence in front of it when considering rhinos. Firstly, in regard to Decision 19DD, which refreshes Decision 18.11, the UK would recommend Botswana, Lao PDR, Namibia and Zimbabwe are included, and we hope that these parties would agree to this. We welcome both the formal and informal efforts underway to strengthen engagement across these parties and the desire to work together to tackle illegal rhino horn trade. So we consider it would be valuable to have this decision recognise the importance of building on this and to include those parties that have a critical role to play. We also note that this would better reflect the transboundary nature of the illegal trade and the key destination countries for illegal rhino horn. Secondly, we recommend the inclusion of time-bound reporting requirements in decisions 19CC, 19DD, and 19EE. It is our view that this will facilitate effective information sharing and provide invaluable information in relation to the illegal killing of rhinos and the illegal trade in rhino horn for consideration by SC77 and SC78. And finally, we strongly support reconvening the Rhinoceros Enforcement Task Force, which we consider to be an essential forum for the strengthened enforcement cooperation. But to be effective, it must involve national enforcement agencies, including those tasked with addressing organised crime from range, transit and consumer countries, plus others with relevant experience. We would therefore recommend amending Decision 19FF to explicitly recognise this need. Chair, I have text I can read out if that would assist in discussions, but as ever, I'm in your hands.
Yes, please, I will take your text, UK.
Thank you, Chair. So, Decision 19CC, which is directed to Botswana and South Africa, at the end of that decision, we would insert Botswana and South Africa should report to the Secretariat, including any relevant information on the outcomes of any prosecutions, seizures, and financial investigations undertaken relating to the illegal killing of rhinoceros and the illegal trade in rhinoceros horn for consideration by SC77 and SC78. 19DD would read, directed to Botswana, China, Lao PDR, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, Vietnam, and Zimbabwe. And then the sentence that follows would reflect that as well. And then at the end of that decision, we would insert parties should report to the Secretariat on any activities conducted in this regard for consideration by SC77 and SC78. And then Decision 19EE, directed to Malaysia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. At the end of that decision, we would insert the same text as I previously read out. And then finally, on Decision 19FF, which is directed to the Secretariat, paragraph A, which reads, convene a follow-up CITES Rhinoceros Enforcement Task Force meeting consisting of representatives, and we would insert here, of national enforcement agencies, including those involved in combating organised crime. And then the decision would continue from there. I'm happy to reread any of those out if that is helpful. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, United Kingdom. I think we have those sufficiently. So I have a lot of parties asking for the floor, and I have about 25 more minutes, so I will probably be unable to take all of you, but I will do my best. So I have South Africa, followed by Zimbabwe, followed by the United States. South Africa, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. South Africa supports the recommendations in document CoP19 Doc 75 in paragraph 70, but we do not support the additions or the recommendations from the UK. Thank you very much.
Thank you, South Africa. Zimbabwe.
Madam Chair, thank you. Zimbabwe supports the adoption of the amendments to the resolution in Annex 1, in Annex 2, as well as the draft decisions in Annex 3 of Document 75. We also urge parties with reporting challenges or enforcement challenges to collaborate with the parties. However, We do not agree to the amendments proposed by the United Kingdom on 19DD, particularly on mentioning Zimbabwe. Our rhino populations are growing, and we have a national rhino action plan under effective implementation as we speak. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Zimbabwe. United States.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The United States appreciates the valuable information contained in this report, as well as the efforts by parties to conserve rhinoceroses. We would like to echo and support the comments from our colleague from the United Kingdom. Thank you.
Thank you, United States. I would like to take Qatar, followed by Kenya. Qatar, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Since this the first time that Qatar take the floor, we would like to thank Panama for organizing this important conference. It's important to mention that Qatar is not a consumer country, and we had a lot of efforts in the competition and legal trade. That's we have our concerns that in this document with regard the data illustrated, which we believe that not accurate and should be refined to the consider surety in my country. Besides on that, Qatar opposite the recommendation 19EE of the draft decision. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Qatar. And I think I might have said that I would take Kenya. So if I did not, I was thinking to take Kenya. Kenya, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Kenya appreciate the submission by the Standing Committee and the Secretariat on Document 75 that proposes a number of measures to support conservation of rhinoceroses. Madam Chair, significant poaching of rhinos continues, driven by consumer demand for rhino horns in Asia, in Africa, South Africa, and Botswana have been most affected by poaching in recent years. Madam Chair, the proposed amendments and renewal of Decision 18.16 and 7 annexed in 3 are good for the rhino conservation. Madam Chair, Kenya supports the renewal of the Decision 18.16, which encourages parties to develop targeted demand reduction program, and also supports adoption of the draft Decision 9CC to 9EE directed to specific parties affected by rhino poaching and trafficking. Madam Chair, Kenya would like to propose a new decision directing the Standing Committee to consider the information supplied by parties pursuant to these decisions and make recommendation to CoP20. We will also want to agree with the amendments proposed by UK and others. Thank you.
Thank you, Kenya. I will close my list now because I think I might be able to take everyone who's already on my list. So I will take United Arab Emirates, followed by the European Union. United Arab Emirates.
Thank you, Chair. The UAE would like to thank the Standing Committee and the Secretariat for their effort highlighted in the document and welcomes the draft decision presented in Annex 3 to the present document. The UAE believes that the data processing is an important and efficient way to better understand the effects of illegal trade of species and how to further enhance the conservation and trade of rhinos. However, in Annex 4, for the parties most affected by illegal trade in rhinos, or during the period 2018 to 2020, in terms of illegal trade by weight, the UAE would like to request the Standing Committee and Secretariat to provide clarification on the methodology that was used. As during the annual reporting on illegal trade, parties are requested to report on the numbers of seized horns and not its volume or weight. We would like it noted that the UAE does not have a domestic market or a demand for rhino horns. The shipments confiscated in the country are transit shipments passing through the UAE, either carried by luggage and passengers or in shipment containers. The UAE have developed an innovative containers inspection facilities that the advanced container scanning combines the integration of multiple components of inspections technologies. It is one of the latest world-class integrated systems for containers and trucks X-ray screenings. The device is capable of screening content of 150 trucks per hour. That means that one truck per every 24 seconds is scanned. The system has been developed in order to help effectively protect the borders of the UAE. The advanced container scanning system is aimed to enhance border security, reducing resources and reinforcing risk mitigation while maintaining the smooth flow of trade. Our scanners and luggage scanners, container scanners and luggage scanners have as well been enforced with artificial intelligence that detects rhino horns and their derivatives using many factors such as shape, volume, and wavelength, and others. Therefore, we do not support the inclusion of the UAE in the decision 19EE, especially with the addition made by the United Kingdom. We look forward to the clarification that will be provided. The UAE remains, as always, devoted to combating the illegal trade of endangered species, especially rhinos and their products. Thank you.
Thank you, UAE, European Union, followed by Mali.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I speak on behalf of the EU and its member states. We would like to thank the Standing Committee, the Secretariat, and the IUCN Species Survival Commission, African and Asian Rhino Specialist Groups, and Traffic for this extensive report of rhinoceros. We support the document prepared by the Standing Committee and the Secretariat and the changes to Resolution CoP19, CoP17, as well as the set of decisions provided in the Annex 3 of the document. However, we believe that some elements of the decisions addressed to the parties and proposed for repeal should be retained in Resolution 914 CoP17 or in the decisions. We suggest retaining part of the text of the decision 110 that is addressed to all parties that should continuously review trends associated with illegal trade in rhinoceros specimens and the measures and activities they are implementing to address this crime, to ensure that these measures and activities are effective. We believe that this should not only apply to range countries like Botswana and South Africa mentioned in the new point 19 CC, but also to other parties that may be affected by illegal trade in rhino horns, including transit and consumer countries. We would also like to ask for clarification on what is meant by the term implicated states and relevant experts in Resolution 914.8 and add words and trends to paragraph 8, line 3 of Resolution 914, CoP17, so it reads to gather information on challenges, best practices, and trends. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, European Union. Mali.
Merci bien, Madame la Présidente. Madame la Présidente, je vais m'appuyer surtout sur le document qui a été élaboré et soumis par le Comité permanent et le Secrétariat. Un document dans lequel il y a plusieurs informations qui nous ont été fournies et qui attestent justement la situation écologique de cette espèce, qui dirait comme l'éléphant, c'est une préoccupation au niveau de notre coalition. Et à cet effet, je soutiens votre proposition et avec ces amendements, bien sûr. Merci bien, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Mali. We have about 12 minutes left, and I have enough parties to take up that space, so I just urge everyone to keep focused so we can conclude our discussion on this. India, followed by Kuwait. India.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As we had informed the Standing Committee at its 74th meeting, the Government of India has issued guidelines for carcass disposal of rhinos, as well as guidelines for population estimation of Indian one-horned rhinos in March 2021. We are also implementing RODIS program since 2016. which has been helpful in enforcement and prosecution of 20 rhino crime cases. India supports the proposal and adoption of CoP19 Doc 75. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, India. Kuwait, followed by Indonesia.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As per our thoughts and concerns, we found that we share similar concerns as our colleague from United Arab Emirates regarding the resource information for the classification and methodologies used in this document. Therefore, we fully support the request made by the United Arab Emirates. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Kuwait, and thank you for the reminder. I did intend to acknowledge the UAE and say we did note your concerns. In Kuwait, we note that you've added your voice. Indonesia, followed by Eswatini.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Indonesia would like to clarify and provide an update on the information in the summary of the Doc 75 Ref 1 regarding the population status of Sumatran rhino and Javan rhino in Indonesia. The population of Sumatran rhino, based on population variable analysis in WSNS Loser, was 40 for 47 individual. The result of our survey in 2017 and 2018 survey in West Loser, we found under 15 individuals in five habitats. While in the East Loser there were 15 individuals. Furthermore, the Sumatran rhino population in Bukit Barisan Selatan area, based on the VVA 2015, was 20 to 25 individuals, but in the 2017 and 2018 survey, there were around 5 individuals. The population of Java rhino, based on the 2020 survey, which the camera traps, is 77 individuals. Indonesia also suggests the increasing the rhino population should also take into the account the number of the birds in the population in this semi-wild, like the Sumatran rhino in 2012 and to 2022. 3 rhino calves were born in the semi-wild XC2 breeding. So the population increasing the 4%. The Indonesian governor effort in the rhino conservation have been outlined in the emergency action plan to save the Sumatran rhino population. For a population under 15, isolate, rescue the rhino
I'm
sanctuary
sorry,
for
Indonesia,
breeding.
your time is up. I welcome your conclusion.
Okay, thank you. Furthermore, we developed the assistant reproductive technology for rhino, Japan rhino. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Indonesia. So I have 4 more speakers and 6 minutes. We'll do our best. Eswatini, followed by Botswana.
Thank you, Chair. I'll try to be brief. As a range state for 2 species of African rhino, Eswatini would like to offer the following. We hear the suggested amendments by the UK. We believe the intent of those amendments is good, and it is in an attempt to try and streamline information and try and get decisions to be taken in a more timely manner. However, what I'd suggest of the UK, I'd request of the UK, is that before we add countries to these lists, we need to be sure that they there are actually countries of concern that need to go onto those lists. And if those countries do qualify for that, then by all means, let's have those countries on those lists. Our intention is to control this trade. We further support the additions that the UK have suggested to 19FF in their amendment. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Eswatini. Botswana.
Thank you, Chair. Botswana acknowledges the document submitted by the Standing Committee and the Secretariat. We support the adoption of amendments to Resolution Conf 9.14 as contained in Annex 2. Botswana does not have any trade in rhinos, whether alive or their derivatives, nor are there any illegal rhino markets in Botswana. As such, we do not support our inclusion in draft decision 19.cc as contained in Annex 3 of the report. We also do not support the amendments as proposed by the UK on 19.cc and 19.dd. Botswana has already submitted the name and address of a focal point, and she's been a useful contact in recent rhino conservation across the world. Botswana had a spike in rhino poaching in 2020 with 62 animals poached, which spike was most likely due to displacement of poaching syndicates across the sub-region. This transient poaching spike has been adequately addressed because in 2022, we've only realized 6 animals poached from January 2022 up to 21 November. So the reversal in trend is due to a number of measures we've put in place, including a rhino conservation strategy review, increased law enforcement efforts in poaching hotspots, reviewed the anti-poaching strategy. We've established a number of safe sanctuaries and translocated animals to those. We've improved interagency collaboration and collaboration. We've improved community beneficiation and communities as first line of defense. We've improved our regional and international cooperation in rhino management, as shown by MOUs we've signed with some of our neighbors, including work we're also doing under binational commissions that are chaired by heads of states that discuss this issue. We've improved our prosecution and judiciary capacity, as well as capacity for forensic analysis. More information on this is on an InfoDoc 71. That document clearly shows the trends of poaching in Botswana from 2012 to 2022 and the successful attempts that Botswana has made in curbing rhino poaching. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Botswana. My final 2 parties are Burkina Faso and Togo. Burkina Faso.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Nous remercions le secrétariat pour la préparation donc, de ce document et le groupe de spécialistes des rhinos d'Afrique et d'Asie et l'UCN et Trafic pour la préparation du rapport complet sur le statut, la conservation et le commerce des rhinos qui figure à l'annexe 4. Ce document et le rapport de l'UCN Trafic contiennent des informations indispensables sur la population des rhinos et du braconnage, ainsi que des données importantes sur le trafic de cornes de rhinos. Bon, il est clair que les États de l'aire de répartition et les parties impliquées dans le commerce des cornes de rhinocéros ont fait des progrès pour lutter contre le braconnage et le commerce illégal des rhinos. Cependant, il faut qu'on reconnaisse que le phénomène existe toujours et la crise du braconnage se poursuit. Pour ce faire, nous, le Burkina Faso, à l'image des autres pays qui viennent de parler, soutenons donc l'adoption des projets de décision contenus dans l'annexe 3 du document 75.1. Cependant, pour que ces décisions aient un impact, le Burkina Faso pense qu'elles doivent inclure des exigences de rapports réguliers afin que les parties à la CITES soient en mesure de surveiller de manière adéquate les progrès réalisés au fur et à mesure de leur mise en œuvre. Et pour ce faire, nous vous aurions proposé de voir la faisabilité d'amender le projet de décision 19.cc à 19.ee et la décision renouvelée 18.116 pour demander aux pays auxquels il se rapporte de faire un rapport au secrétariat sur les activités menées avant les sessions SC 77 et SC 78. Voilà, Madame, notre intervention, notre proposition, et je vous remercie.
Thank you, Burkina Faso. Togo.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Compte tenu du temps, je vais passer directement à la conclusion de mon intervention en disant que le Togo appuie les recommandations revisées relatives au document 75 proposé par la Grande-Bretagne. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Togo. I would like to take one or two observers before we break. Briefly, I don't think I'm going to have time to completely sum up before our break, but I would like to give the floor to some observers. So I will take EIA-US, followed by Wildlife Justice Commission. EIA-US.
Thank you, Chair. I'm making this intervention on behalf of the Environmental Investigation Agency, ADM Capital Foundation, Animal Welfare Institute, Born Free, Center for Biological Diversity, David Shepherd Wildlife Foundation, Eurogroup for Animals, Fondation Brigitte Bardot, Fondation CITES, Humane Society International, International Fund for Animal Welfare, Japan Tiger and Elephant Fund, Law of the Wild, Natural Resources Defense Council, Pan-African Sanctuary Alliance, Robin Dubois, Species Survival Network, Wild Aid, and Wildlife Trust of India. The report on rhino conservation, status, and trade produced by the IUCN and Asian Rhino Specialist Groups and Traffic, annexed to Doc 75, makes clear that while in some regions rhino conservation efforts are producing welcome and important gains, rhino poaching and illegal trade in rhino horn continue at very concerning levels, which was also highlighted by Burkina Faso. According to the latest available estimates, the southern white rhino population has plummeted by more than 25% since 2012. Poaching, fueled by consumer demand for rhino horn, is responsible for the ongoing population crash. South Africa and Botswana have been hardest hit by poaching in recent years, while China and Vietnam remain the primary destination countries along the rhino horn trafficking chain. We are concerned by the paucity of available information provided by some parties, which was reflected in the annexed report. While we welcome the additional information that has been submitted in information documents at this meeting, the data was not submitted in time to inform the analyses and recommendations that have been included in Doc 75 and the annexed report. It is imperative that those parties most affected by rhino poaching and illegal trade communicate, share information, and ultimately work together, as well as with key non-governmental partners, to maximize resources in order to effectively disrupt the organized criminal elements controlling the killing and trafficking. For these reasons, we strongly support the adoption of the decisions contained in Annex 3 of Doc 75 as amended by the United Kingdom, Kenya, and the EU. Thank you.
Thank you. Wildlife Justice Commission.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This intervention is made on behalf of the Wildlife Justice Commission, WWF, and the International Rhino Foundation. As this is the first time taking the floor, I would like to extend our thanks to Panama as the host country for their warm hospitality. We commend IUCN and Traffic for the production of Doc 75, which is an important source of information for rhino conservation, and the Secretariat for the addition of the valuable analysis of best practices to address poaching and trafficking to guide future interventions. We would like to highlight the findings of InfoDoc 81 submitted by the UK on behalf of the Wildlife Justice Commission and WWF, which shows the continued role of transnational organized crime in rhino horn trade. This is demonstrated firstly by the increasing volume of rhino horn found in individual seizures over the past decade. Secondly, by harvested horns from legal stockpiles being diverted into illegal trade. And thirdly, by large numbers of horns being trafficked without any attempt at concealment. We further believe this demonstrates that this form of transnational organized crime remains heavily reliant upon corrupt actors at numerous points along the trade chain. Given the limited number of successful prosecutions involving large seizures of rhino horn, the ongoing level of rhino poaching, and the overall global decline in rhino numbers, we support the comments of the parties regarding the need for time-bound reporting on key countries' progress in addressing the illegal killing of rhinos and illegal trade in rhino specimens, which should include efforts to address corruption. We support the reconvening of the CITES Rhino Enforcement Task Force, which should involve national enforcement agencies, include those tasked with addressing organized crime from range, transit, consumer countries, and others with relevant expertise, to bring a multidisciplinary approach and enable successful prosecution of transnational wildlife criminals involved in the illegal trade of rhino horns. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Wildlife Justice Commission. And because I apologise to the interpreters, we've gone over by 3 minutes. I would propose that we break now and we come back to consolidate our discussions after lunch. So I will see you back here at 1:45. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy your lunch. Secretariat.
Sorry, everyone, just a quick announcement. The working group on the role of CITES in reducing risk of zoonotic disease is meeting now during lunchtime in ISTMO 2. And then the working group on 36.1 and 36.2 on West and Central Africa will meet this afternoon at 5:15 in ISTMO 1. CITES and Forest, 5:15 in Caribe 5. And proposal 49 for Brasilia Equinata in Caribe 6 during lunchtime now, 12:15. Thank you.